biggest things that we learn on the spiritual journey, number one is to stay in the observer state. And number two is to set boundaries.
So many people are afraid about being who they are and expressing what their heart is calling them to do, what their soul is calling them to do.
This is really a time to connect to spirit, to connect to surrendering and connecting to your higher self.
Even if you never said a word, I feel you being there just by your presence is shifting other people's consciousness. Welcome to Noetic Alchemy. This is a space where ancient wisdom meets modern energy science. I'm Sophia West, and here we explore the hidden dimensions of healing, consciousness, and transformation. In each episode, we'll journey into practices like energy medicine, typically Reiki, chakra balancing, some quantum field work, root cause therapy, crystal work, tarot reading, all types of techniques and modalities that you're interested in. And it's always with the intention of helping you awaken your inner light and embody your highest truth. This is more than a conversation. This is an activation. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step together into the field of Noetic Alchemy. Now, today I have somebody really special with me. Her name is Sarah Tyler. She's an attorney, a world traveler. She's a Pound fitness instructor and the owner of Divine Healing LLC. Sarah provides customizable sessions using tarot cards and astrology to provide spiritual guidance. She's also creating oracle and tarot decks. I met Sarah back in 2017, right after her awakening, which I'm going to let her talk about in a little bit. And she's one of my really cool examples of people who are living everyday lives as a lawyer, as a Pound instructor, and she is diving into topics of enlightenment, of spiritual growth. And she's not only one of my students, she's a friend, she's just an amazing person, and I'm super excited for you to meet her. So Sarah, welcome to our podcast, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on right now in your life?
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, and I can't believe, I'm just thinking it's 2017, 8 years ago? I mean, that's been lifetimes. It's been absolute lifetimes.
First November
Yeah.
17. All Saints Day is the day that we started.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was the Lionsgate portal time frame, gateway in that year when I went through my awakening. And yeah, I guess we'll probably talk about that here more in a bit. But as far as what my life looks like now, I mean, I don't even recognize myself. I mean, I'm very blessed to work remotely, and I work for a global organization. So the growth, I mean, obviously I've had spiritual growth these last few years, but the growth I've had in my legal skills and learning so much about different countries and their laws and interacting. I mean, I interact with people. This morning I was on the phone with an attorney in China, and I'm frequently on calls with people from Switzerland and Germany and the UK and Brazil and Canada. I mean, New Zealand. We truly operate in just about every single country. So I mean, the experience I'm getting is amazing. And, it does enable me to bring some of the spiritual practice in, as far as helping kind of diffuse conflicts and work in stressful situations and under pressure and things like that. But that's been wonderful. And having that flexibility to work remotely is what really helps me balance and has helped me really, work to grow my business the last few years.
So how beautiful is that? I mean, I know you and I know what a light you are. So what I'm super excited about when people like you come into my classes or come to the retreats and the trainings and just being who you are in the world, you're taking that light, you're taking the ancient wisdoms, you're taking the new consciousness into law around the world. And you're spreading this beautiful light beam that comes from your heart to all of these people that you meet. So that's what's super exciting for me. And just to know that you don't have to jump ship in order to become enlightened or in order to be a positive influence in the world. You don't have to leave your day job. You don't have to totally reinvent yourself. You can be who you are and incorporate these practices and trainings and the different belief systems into your life. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say when I first, obviously we just said I went through my initial awakening in 2017. I started my business in 2018. And at that time, I was at my prior job where it was the more traditional, pre-COVID corporate type job where you're going into an office every day, things are more formal. And, I was still a little bit, obviously only a new, year into kind of exploring spirituality and being comfortable being authentic, right? And so I had a lot of fear initially about putting myself out there, about is what I'm going to say a little too woo woo, or are people going to think I'm weird, or what if management gets word of me doing this and they think I'm because obviously I would never mention where I worked or think mix the two, but sometimes we see it now, especially with social media, people, things they're doing in their personal lives can get them fired at their job, right? So I had a lot of fear there. But the interesting thing is, I found the more I embrace my authenticity and the more that I put myself out there, the fact that I am a lawyer, it gave me more credibility, I think. People were more willing to say, well, gosh, Sarah, she's done all these things in the community and, I'd won awards, let's say, like, 40 under 40, we have that here. And, I was very respected and known in this area as a professional. So for me to come out and be talking about these things, I think that made it feel safer for other professionals to explore it. And I mean, I had, a former, coworker at the law firm I'd been at before. She came to me for a Reiki session and tarot, and I had some professionals come to people who I never would have ever dreamed would embrace that, were not only just following my page and supporting it, but actually coming to me for sessions and really resonating with it. So it's been really, I mean, that's been one of the just most incredible lessons, I guess, or things that I've learned on this journey, is that the more you embrace your authentic self, the less you have to be afraid about that.
Well, isn't that kind of the theme in our society? So many people are afraid about being who they are and expressing what their heart is calling them to do, what their soul is calling them to do. It doesn't matter whether you're in a relationship and you want to be out of it and that there's fear of what
Mhm.
think about you, or whether you want to express your belief system or change your belief system or expand, that fear is powerful in our societies. I'm really, really glad you spoke about that because, how many other people are out there? How many other people that are doing the normal jobs in traditional containers are afraid to express themselves within that container? Now, I'm not saying like you said, there's a time and a place for things. Like you wouldn't
Right.
things on social media about your work that would connect you to your traditional 9 to 5 job. But even with that being said, you're still in that traditional 9 to 5 job and you're still that light that is giving people the unconscious permission to shine their light. It's like the Marianne Williamson poem of, our deepest fear is not that we're powerful, that we're not powerful, is that we're powerful beyond measure. And it is our light that gives other people this unconscious permission to shine their own light. So even if you never said a word, I feel you being there just by your presence is shifting other people's consciousness. But what do you have any tidbits? Do you have any little tips or words of advice to anybody out there who might be in government or being a teacher or being a nun? Like I actually had nuns in my Reiki class, my first Reiki class, which
Oh, wow.
I did. And there are priests and bishops that, are against Reiki, but there are nuns that practice it up in the Sisterhood of the Charity. So, let's break through the box and let's say, how can we navigate this? Do you have anything you can offer people?
Yeah, I think a couple of the biggest things that we learn on the spiritual journey, number one is to stay in the observer state. And number two is to set boundaries. Setting boundaries was something that I was not good at for a really long time. And I had to learn that lesson really hard, a few years ago. So I think, just because we do bring the light in this job, and I've had, some examples, where me just being my authentic self, me being kind, me like working well with others. It's actually, there's one relationship in particular with one of the main guys I work with is a different nationality, doesn't live in America, was very, very difficult, and we now like we've developed, I've set boundaries with him, and I wasn't afraid to do it, and he's respects me now. And not that he didn't respect me before, but things shifted when I started setting boundaries. And I know we have this excellent relationship now. And he was on like a 3-week vacation, and he came back and he's like, I missed you. And, it was in a very, he wasn't being inappropriate. It was just like, I never dreamed we'd get there. Right. But it's not always like that. Right. That's an example where in time, you just taking the high road, but yet honoring your boundaries. Right. That's great. There are other situations where some people just stay stuck in the lower vibrational energy. They stay stuck in the drama, their power struggles, right? In the corporate world, I'm talking about, right? If you're in that job. So being in the observer state is one of the most important things you can do. I mean, I'm going through some challenges at work right now on some projects, and it's some of the things that are happening. They're things that I think I would have gotten very stressed out about pre-awakening. I would have been just and having anxiety, and I'm not taking things personally because I'm taking that observer state and looking at, okay, this person's under pressure from this and this and this, and they're lashing out because they feel like, they've messed something up or they're going to get in trouble. It has nothing to do with me. They might be lashing out and need a meeting, but I don't take it personally. So I think that's one of the biggest things that can kind of help if you're in this type of environment, right? You don't have to be, like you said, actually engaging in spiritual practice, but just your own, keeping yourself calm can help a situation from escalating. And I think, again, setting boundaries too is very important.
Beautiful. Great advice. I know that, you and I and several of our other people in our class have been talking lately about this shift in consciousness and that low vibration versus high. What, from a practical standpoint, I'm fully immersed in this type of work 24/7. In the esoteric, in the spiritual work, in the seeing clients, doing sessions, the guidance, that type of thing. So I don't have one of those traditional 9-to-5 jobs anymore. And, I came from medicine, and you still do. And, talking about the topic of what I've been teaching you guys lately about the low vibration and the high vibration are getting ready to split, and what Dolores Cannon, years and years and years ago called the new earth versus the old earth. So the concept there is what you just stated about being in the observer state while we're making this transition. And the transition really is nothing more than, there's not going to be like a new earth grown, and there's not going to be another planet. What there is going to be is a new frequency, new consciousness. And so this higher vibrational consciousness comes from this place of love, where the low vibrational consciousness goes back to what we talked about earlier, the fear, the not having the boundaries, the being stuck. In your view, from where you're standing right now, how prevalent do you see this happening? I mean, I'm talking about it. I'm telling you all that it's going to happen. The channel is opening and showing me what's happening, but I don't have my foot in that world other than just navigating, going to the grocery store and going, oh gosh, what is that I'm seeing, versus living it. So you're living it. What are you seeing? What's the disparity? I mean, do you see the low frequency people staying there? And do you feel yourself moving and staying in a state of observer state, staying in a place of coming from love with all of these challenges that are happening?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think in a couple of different instances, going back to the corporate world, the job. And I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, this is a global phenomenon. Again, it's not just, a lot of people focus obviously on what's going on in the US as far as the splitting of consciousness, but it is global. I mean, a lot of the issues, the tensions that we're having, at our job, it is a global kind of an issue. So it's interesting that it's like that microcosm of that. So it does get challenging at times because, it's like, okay, but it's just keeping we've got to work towards this common goal. And just continuing to, like I said, take the high road and be in the observer state. As far as in the day-to-day world, yeah, I mean, I see it in a lot of different ways. I mean, for example, yesterday I taught a free pound class in community. It was just at a local shoe store, and now it was the morning, and I'm not a morning person either, so I wasn't, but I wasn't exactly, awake, but I was like, yeah, I get into the music. I mean, that's why I love Pound Fitness, because it's a great way to empower people. It's a stress reliever. And I told people there, if you don't even want to do all the movements and you just want to headbang and, feel the music, like, and honestly, most of the people, it was just like zombies. It was like crickets. It was just, they were just like, just standing there. And I mean, and a couple of the women, I was just proud of that they came out. They told me they hadn't worked out in years. And I said, okay, so we've got some options for you, right? So it wasn't even that though. I thought, well, okay, if I understand they might not want to move, but they can feel and they didn't seem alive. They didn't seem to have that, right? So there was that kind of disparity. And I see it at concerts. I see people that there just isn't, it just doesn't seem like there's something there. And I've had instances, not as often as one of my friends, but one of my friends is, a local spiritual leader and really well known in the community. And she's having more and more instances where she'll be at the grocery store, for example, and she'll maybe say hello to someone and like they just don't even, it's not even like they're ignoring her, but she said she doesn't think they see her, or they'll like run into her, like they don't see her because her vibration is so high. So, I'll be honest, it's a balance, right? I love going out and I love interacting. I love going to concerts. I love traveling. I love being around people. But then a lot of the times it's just like, I'm more and more just drawn to stay home in my own bubble, to be with my cats or be with my family than I am to go out in the world, because it's just very strange. I mean, you can definitely feel a difference interacting with people.
It's interesting what you said, the two examples. That's happened to me when I go out. I'm like, I'll say something to someone and it's like maybe they can't hear, but
Yeah.
it's bizarre. It's like you're invisible. So
Yeah.
I am seeing that. So I'm glad you kind of made that comment as well. And the interesting thing about your pound, which I love about that work, is that, first of all, you being that seed of light that's teaching this class, you're spreading that no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
The frequency and the vibration, even if they're just standing there and hearing your music that you're playing and feeling the percussion from your sticks in particular, not just everybody else's, but
Mm-hmm.
that vibration is giving them and their body and their energy field permission to rise and not stay stuck. And so that's the difference with what's happening out there right now. Is there are people that are so stuck and they're so, I want to say, numb or maybe brainwashed.
That's a good, yeah.
That's what they have to live. And so something like Pound in particular is giving a vibration that at the very least they're going to feel something coming from you, whether it's just hearing,
Mm-hmm.
which is again vibration, frequency. Really, really beautiful stuff.
Right. And I was going to say, that's something, again, looking back, even 2021, when I got certified to teach Pound, I posted, like, when I was like, I don't know if I'll ever teach it. Why was that? It's not that I didn't want to. I just didn't think I could do it. I didn't think, I mean, it's a lot to learn. It's great for the brain function to keep, to learn all that choreography and the movement. But I just didn't have the confidence in myself, not only to actually teach, but, to put myself up there in front of people and to act crazy. Like I like sing into the, like, I'm like, oh, and like headbanging. That's something, yeah, I might do at concerts, right? But not everybody's looking at the stage. They're not looking at me.
Sure.
So for, I think that's the thing too, is people are so afraid of, being judged or what they're going to look like. And that's what I love about Pound, is it's just like, it's really another thing where I've been able to embrace my authenticity and grow as a leader. And, I try to encourage people, to do the same thing. But I'll say that was probably one of the most challenging ones I taught, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is a tough crowd. I mean, it was just like nobody, usually when you have, or some of these events, it's like, people are going, woohoo, and they're singing along or, getting into it too. And it was just like, I might as well have been pounding to my cats and they're looking at me. But it's still, again, that's something where I just kept going and didn't subdue myself. So I think it's a really cool thing. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
It's beautiful.
but
Nothing else. You dance for yourself. You're there for yourself, and just you being out in the public, you're shining your light. Because I know that you're a totally different person since the first time you came here to the castle for your
oh yeah,
Reiki session, our first Reiki class.
2018. That was, yeah. And that's what gave me the confidence to start my business. I think it was just a few weeks after I came for the first time that I was like, okay, I'm gonna.
Reiki is a really cool thing. I mean, you know, because you've been in my classes that I'm trying to get away from the word Reiki because there's so many people going, well, what the heck is that? Is that a religious thing? I still honor it and I still teach it that way, but I'm going more from energy facilitation, you know, because
Mhm,
it encompasses source energy, what is already inside of us. So it's really basically a tuning in of your frequency that you were born with, that you came from. And it is so empowering. It is so life opening. And I know the first time I ever took my first level of Reiki, I mean, I came back from that class going, everybody in the world needs to take this class. This is amazing because it connects us with who we really are. So for you,
mhm.
it just kind of entered into that space to give you the confidence to go do what you wanted to do. And since then, I mean, you've been to my quantum retreat. And
Mhm.
how have doors opened, or what do you feel has happened to you since you've come here to, I mean, the quantum retreat encompasses, you know, a total shift in someone's energy field. We start off with a, you know, an evening gathering, and then the next day you get into a sweat lodge, and then you get into a mineral pool for an activation, and then you have a Stargate activation, and then you have detoxification therapies throughout the days, and then on the final day we open up the quantum and you go in. So speak on what did that do for you? What do you feel happened to you, or what did you gain from that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna go. The one thing actually where I said I wasn't going, I didn't know where I was going. There was one other little point I wanted to make about the energy work that you were saying, how life changing it is. I think that's what a lot of these people, like I saw in the class yesterday and in general, have never had that benefit of that. And so imagine all of, and probably maybe haven't gone to therapy, haven't gone to any of that, and they have all of that, I don't know if you want to say trauma or just emotional, suppression and wounding and all those things they've never dealt with and faced, and how heavy that must be that they have not worked through that ever and had any energy work done. So I think that's kind of what a lot of that was yesterday too, was some of that. But yeah, I mean, to go from even just the first time I came to the castle to the quantum retreat I think it was last July of 24.
You were here.
Yeah. And that was my I think third time at the castle, third or fourth time. I think because I think I came in 2018, 2021 for sword Reiki, and then
Great.
yeah, so that might have been my third time. Oh, I mean, I don't know where to even start. I mean, it was just always, I could say for anybody watching this, any class, anything I've taken, and done many online classes with you, Sophia. So of course, over the years, Karuna Reiki multiple times, Holy Fire multiple times, 1 and 2. I retake them because every single class you learn something new about yourself. Plus, you get the benefit of having, the energy work done and working on yourself. So you always grow. So I would highly encourage, no matter what level.
End of the September. You're taking
Oh
quantum.
yeah, oh yeah, I can't wait for that. But yeah, so the big shift that I had. So that was July of 24. 24 was a huge year anyway. I mean, my God, going to Egypt, that was insane. And then having that retreat,
Too.
right? That was like next level. And then, I booked a trip over Thanksgiving last November to go to Norway because I wanted to see the Northern Lights. I felt so drawn to do it. And it was my birthday. I spent my birthday in Oslo, and I went alone all the way there. And it was the first trip that I've ever been on. I mean, that I can say it was such a shift because I was there the whole time, had such an amazing experience. And I wasn't wishing I was with someone else. I wasn't wishing I had a partner. I wasn't thinking of like, oh, I would love to have somebody here with me. It was the first time I didn't feel kind of that pang or that sadness of that needing someone. So and right around the time I came to that retreat, that summer before that, I was working through a lot of things, a lot of transitions in my life, facing the fact that I was never going to bear children. That there was a lot of grief that I had gone through from 2022 to 24, and I was still sort of dealing with that. And so I think going through the medicine wheel and the mineral pool and the Stargate and just the connection to be with you and the other people there, it really helped to shift things for me, brought me peace and helped me shed, that those things that were weighing me down.
How beautiful. I know that there's a lot of single women out there who, in the same situation where looking for their soulmate or what we talked about before, twin flame, all the different
Hmm.
buzzwords that are out there. And I know I've had several clients that have come to me and tell me if this feels right to you too, is that they've said, I looked and I looked and I looked and I finally realized when I looked in the mirror that I'm really married to my highest self. And that's this relationship that I need to cultivate. And whether someone comes in to explore the rest of my life with me or not, that's great. But that would potentially be a want, but not a need, because I know that I am the I am. So
Hmm.
how does that feel for you? Does that feel resonant at all?
Oh, absolutely. And I know you're probably like, oh my God, finally. Because we never thought, I mean, you knew I'd get here, but I think I truly, like I said, I think I truly finally got there. It was just this like thread for the longest time. Like, more and more would get, but there was still this little bit where it's like, oh, I really want this. I remember, going to Egypt. I was really hoping I'd meet somebody on that because there was a group going and I was just, really disappointed. And then I came to the quantum retreat and we, worked through some things. And then it just, I don't know, I had this peace and things have been so different since then. So it really is. I mean, I'm at this place now where, I mean, talk about boundaries. I mean, there are just so many, I mean, and maybe, people are like, people make those comments sometimes to women, like your standards are so high, you might just be alone with your cats the rest of your life. And I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time because
Exactly. Well, how cool is that?
truly.
So when you talk to the people that are listening right now, it's like it's more than likely not going to be a bippity boppity boo. You talked about the threads unwinding.
Oh, it's long and
Talking about
painful.
I met you in 2017 to a huge shift when you came here in 2019 to then 2021, another one. And then Egypt was, I still, when I think back to Egypt, I feel like we time traveled and we weren't on this planet. It was that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And then last year with the quantum retreat, there's that other little piece of thread that was there. And then Norway was like, so this is a journey of exploration and there's no destination end, right? I mean, how do you feel? Does that feel right? That it's like, it's okay for everybody out there who's going, oh my gosh, it's not happening for me, or I'm not getting to what they're talking about. Is it okay just to be and sit with yourself and allow the process to unfold, no matter whether it takes 10 days or 10 years?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like you said, it's not going to be an overnight process. Of course, there could be shifts that happen. There could be clarity. There could be even a knowing, right? As you're going, let's say somebody's identifying with a twin flame journey or a sacred partner journey, and they either have someone who's been in and out of their life or they're just seeking that and desiring it. You might have this knowing that this isn't maybe in your highest good and that you're supposed to get, but sometimes your heart and your soul, you feel this connection and it's there's no right or wrong time, right, for you to get over it. So you can't have, I want to say but to move past it, right? I don't have regrets about the close to 7 years that there were threads there. It was very much almost out by like 2022, but there was still little, and I don't have any regrets over that because that whole process it serves a purpose in the sense that number one, it was the catalyst for my awakening. Absolutely. My Kundalini awakening, all of that stuff happened because of that interaction with that soul connection. But, by him, he triggered my deepest wounds, forced me to face them, right? That carrot of that, oh, I might be with my twin flame made me want to work on myself, made me want to put in the work. And he showed me every step of the way, every time he triggered me or come in and out of my life. I mean, what a gift that was. Not everybody has that opportunity. I mean, I guess everybody does if you're really looking in as an observer state of the way people trigger you or mirror you and things. But when you're in that type of a spiritual awakening, and not everybody goes through that type of, process the same way, but I had that gift. And so he ultimately taught me how to love myself, and and it's come full circle. And I wanted to travel, and it's like I didn't want to wait around for him to do that, and I got the courage to do it, and So the whole thing's been, it hasn't been easy. It's not like I just waved a wand and, it took years, but
Not everybody's journey is going to be
right.
a gift. The gift you were given was through a person who you thought to be a twin flame, where somebody
Mhm.
else's gift could be somewhere else, but it still means the gift could be messy. The gift could
Mhm.
be uncomfortable, but seeing it as a gift is half the battle, and it's hard to see it as a gift when you're ingrained in that. It's really
Yeah.
so yeah, I love that. I love the fact that, everybody out there, can understand that their journey is unique to them and whatever path they're on is absolutely right for them. The other thing that you brought up was there's no right or wrong time, and I think that a lot of times in my experience I like to explain to all my students and all my clients that you get knowledge from books. You can get those self help books and go, well, why am I this way? Or why am I broken? And you're going to glean a little bit of knowledge from those, or teachers, gurus, friends can give you tidbits of information, but no one source has everything for you. And every one of those sources is not telling you what you don't know. They are giving you a key to unlock what you actually do know inside. And that's really it's an unveiling of who you are inside, not a gathering like especially in the United States, we're a consumer nation. We're not gathering the information. We're just gathering the keys and the connections to unlock our wisdom that's inside. So, speaking of that wisdom, what just popped in my head was, we kind of touched on this at the beginning, but we haven't really dove real deep in this, and I'd like to do this. You went from coming here and doing Reiki and having the awakening, being a lawyer, to something so far 180 degrees from what law is, maybe, I don't know, tarot reading and oracle deck creation. Can you just where did that come from?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I was always drawn to tarot and spiritual things and psychics, and I would go starting back even as early in my 20s. Sometimes I would go to psychics or tarot readers, and a lot of it was just because I was so miserable and unhappy in my life. I wanted them to give me the answers. I wanted them to tell me, even though, and I always tell my clients this, I'm going to tell you what you already know deep down inside. This is gonna, this is just confirmation of what you already know. And it always was. I just was always afraid to leave a situation, or I was afraid, and I needed that, like that push. So, but yeah, so it was something just like Pound, I always loved and was interested and never thought I'd be the one actually doing it, on the other side, leading and being a tarot reader. So, but what happened when I went through my awakening, I started working with oracle cards. I was just drawn to
Anybody
order an
else use
angel.
oracle cards? I mean, you just bought decks or
Yeah, yeah. So I just, of course, it was an Archangel Oracle deck, and that was like early 20s. It was even before my full awakening, right? But I just went to Sedona for the first time when I was going through my divorce, and I bought crystals. I mean, I was clearly being guided. It was like Archangel Oracle, yes. And I started just because the Oracle deck. If people aren't familiar, I mean, it's very easy. You don't have to have any training on that. Most of them come with booklets, or or they have messages on the card. So you just pull a card and read the message. You don't have to know the system or anything like that. So I would do like past, present, future. I would just pull cards. And I was, just really drawn to that. So I started buying more decks throughout 2017. And, but I thought, well, tarot, I mean, that's too complicated. I'm not going to be able to do that. Even when I started my business in 2018, I still hadn't learned tarot, but I was doing Reiki and Oracle readings at the time. And then, of course, the way, when you're on the right path, when you're in alignment, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, doors start opening or you get shown things. The universe is always speaking through other people, bringing in opportunities and things like that. So I had a friend reach out to me and she said, hey, there's a tarot class in Kettering, which is where I live. So it's like, 10 minutes from me. She's like, do you want to go? And I had been thinking about learning tarot, but I thought, how am I going to do that? And they just started a class, So I just took the class for 3 months, and then I started watching YouTube videos. Of course, a lot of twin flame YouTube videos, but hey, it served a purpose because it helped me learn tarot. And yeah, by 2019, I did my first event in the community, and then I started my YouTube channel and then started doing tarot sessions. But yeah, I never would have thought, by the time, like, if just fast forward to now, in October, I'm doing an event at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds. It's a pretty large, type thing, like a fair. I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. And when I think about that, it's just mind blowing. As far as creating the decks, actually the twin flame journey, I have to thank for that too, because it was an outlet for me, an outlet for the experience I had. It was almost, the first two decks I created were really kind of biographical at the time. So the first was Triggers and Shadows, an oracle deck, which was about it was like basically the twin flame journey and all of the different wounding and the triggers and the shadows that come up for you during your awakening. So, he gave me that gift because I started that deck, like he triggered me really bad. And I sat down one night and I just started, it just came through. And then the Sacred Union Tarot was my first tarot deck. That was sort of, my journey up to that point. And then all the decks after that have been the next evolution, right? I moved from that Sacred Union one. I did like a Halloween and a Christmas, and then Tarot of the Sea was much more focused on kind of the feminine, the single woman embracing, not focusing on a relationship. So that the deck is about that, right? And then the last one I created is the Cosmic Tarot. And that was really about, really embracing, your spiritual journey and your connection with the new earth, so to speak, or the 5G. So it's really cool. It's been a nice outlet for me. And it helps me. Yeah. And I was gonna say, and it helps me with my clients too. I mean, I have a lot of different decks I use, don't get me wrong, but when I use my own decks for readings, because I know, the images mean so many different things to me because I chose them for a reason, that helps me even give a more in-depth reading, I think.
That's amazing. So what I'd like to do, I'm sure everybody's got that question after what she just said. So Sarah, I would love to include links in the description below, how people can get in contact with you, maybe get a session or buy your are gorgeous. And then I guess, would you do us one favor and grab one of your decks and do I don't know, what do you think? An oracle reading for, what should we do it for? Like September?
Well, we're in the midst of the eclipse, the full moon eclipse. That was yesterday, so it's still happening. So,
first is the solar eclipse. So we're in an eclipse portal right now.
Yeah, and it was in Pisces. So why don't we use, I've got a couple here. We got Tarot of the Sea, which is the water energy.
I love that. Healing.
Yeah. We'll see that. And then we'll use my cosmic one just to kind of see. I always say you can't make this stuff up, right? Show you in a moment. The Cosmic Tarot. Whoa, that one just flew out. So this is from the Tarot of the Sea. So the card that came out is the Devil. Ooh. And so this one is a little spicy. It's like a Poseidon guy, and it's like, so the devil, in tarot, that can be kind of like our, the addictions or like, the seven deadly sins. But a lot of what it represents to me when I see the devil card, I mean, unless it resonates specifically for somebody that, is dealing with somebody with addictions, it's fear. Usually it's our own inner fear holding us back. So I'm getting that, with people going through this eclipse portal, 9/9 is tomorrow, and 9 is a number of completions, as things like culminate towards Scorpio season. There are, again, and you mentioned earlier, us shifting into this new higher vibration, there are things that are going to have to fall away for people. So this is a time where a lot of people might be losing jobs or needing to leave a job or a relationship, or, situations might be crumbling. And, I think this message, which we also had the 5 of Pentacles on the bottom, and that can be feeling left out in the cold. That's where this guy's like alone on an island. And it's just like feeling maybe the sadness and fear about the way that things are shifting. But when we look at the Cosmic Tarot, so this is my Cosmic Tarot deck, and it's a journey to oneness. So this, like, I'm taking this as more, maybe the advice of how to get through this time. You've got the 8 of Wands, which the 8 of Wands is a card about communication, typically forward movement. What's interesting is in this deck, of course, the image I chose, right, is it's like a satellite, like an alien ship, because it's a cosmic theme deck. So I'm thinking, this is really a time to connect to spirit, to connect to surrendering, and connecting to your higher self, whatever it is you believe in, if it's Jesus, if it's Archangel Michael, your spirit guides, whatever it is you identify with, to really just know there's a higher purpose for the things that are happening, and maybe sit down either in a meditation or just, asking, for signs, for support, and just connecting with nature. What's interesting is you got the Queen of Pentacles as well. And, you know, it's this woman riding alone, under the moon. Oh my gosh, that's a full moon.
Yeah.
It's so
Like last night. It looked just like that.
I did. It was like a golden. Yeah, we didn't get the blood moon here because we didn't have the eclipse, but it did. So, she's a Queen of Pentacles. Queens obviously are very powerful. They are, they're grounded. They're doing, they're doing well financially. They've got their stuff together. They've got it all. They can be their own person in the sense, not I won't say their own person, obviously, but you have everything you need within you. So I think for some people that might need to hear this with this full moon, it's like, recognizing, like I said, moving through the fear of the things that, need to go or that are exiting your life. And, because it's time to move forward and you're being, supported with that. I mean, the horse, like that gives me chariot energy too. So just, it can be very intense energy, but just knowing that you're on the right path.
It's really fascinating because that reading you just did could apply to 2 clients I had this morning.
Oh, wow.
The interesting thing is, like, I've been doing podcasts back to back today as well. And in between the last 2, I went out and I just felt like laying down on the grass. I needed to connect to nature. I went out in the full sun, and I usually don't do that, but I was just laying there, just letting the sun bathe me, laying in the grass.
Mm.
And the other message that I got, like, hold up that satellite communication thing again. The one before it was the guy on the rock being alone, right? But the other message that I got, we might feel alone, but there are other things out there
Yeah.
communicating with us, and we're really not alone. It's an illusion. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
I saw those pictures. I'm like, so how?
Yeah. And this is what's interesting is the 8 of Wands was also on the bottom of this Tarot of the Sea, right? So this is the one where the guy was, and it's almost like the same picture. I mean, he's not on a rock, but 8 of Wands is about communication. Well, we got it twice. The 8 of Wands was in the cosmic one, and it's in here. And here it's like this spark lighting up. It's like, see, you go from this. It's like the Wizard of Oz, when you go from the black and white and then Dorothy and then it's all color. It's like that's what opening yourself up to knowing that there's more out there than this.
Agreed.
And it's like that light will just once you, I mean, yeah, the biggest thing for me going through, even before I was awakened, I would just ask for signs. I felt like I needed to ask for signs. And it was stuff that I would never have seen, regularly. Something, like a blue butterfly, that's not a thing around here. And then, I mean, I not just saw, wind chimes with it, but like a billboard that was, floor to ceiling in a place I never normally was. Right. And so just when you start tapping in and you start seeing that magic, it really can, it can be so comforting, and it helps get you through those times.
Well, I love these messages because sometimes, some of my clients say, when I ask for signs, I get them and then I get a pang in my belly because I get scared, or I didn't, is that, how do I interpret that? Well, recently, myself included, I listen to all types of people in all walks of life, all different modalities, and there's some really amazing astrologers out there. And I feel like right now, because of all the cosmic movement, we're really being impacted more in this timeline than we ever have been. So when I listen to these people, even if the person says, like the cards you brought up, this indicates the fear people are seeing, this is being alone. So we can hear those things and say, oh my God, I'm going to be in fear, and oh my God, I'm going to be alone. Or we can say, no, wait a minute. This is a time that fear can rise, and I've just got to meet it. Or this is the time where, yeah, maybe I am alone, but maybe I need to like force myself to go see family or go out with friends, or know, like I said with the other one, that we're really not ever alone. So take the messages that, and I hopefully you agree with this too, but take the messages that any person who's giving you any kind of divination or any message that what's happening is that, hey, I don't have to accept the message. I can listen to the message and I use it to apply it to my life the way I. Is that how you go about things as well?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, when I do these readings for people, it always inevitably, it's confirming things they already know, which sometimes that's all they needed was that confirmation. They were getting the messages, but they just were having doubts. And then to hear somebody come in that doesn't, in the cards show what they show, sometimes that's helpful. But then sometimes people just aren't ready. They might know, and then eventually at some point, they're either, going to get to a point where there's, it's going to start affecting their health, or they're going to have to make it, or the universe will make a shift for them, right? It could make be a job loss or something like that. If the job is no longer aligned, they either are going to leave or something else is going to shift.
And even though that feels crappy to begin with, it's like, I tell people a lot of times when you come do energy work or even have classes, it's like your life is a snow globe and you're up and we're going to shake it, still your life, and all those pieces are going to settle just perfectly for you wherever they need to be.
Right. And it may not be immediately, and it's hard to face that and comprehend it when you're in the midst of it. But the more you go through these things and then get through it, and you can start looking back at the lessons and then the growth, and then how it, shifted you onto your I guess a different path, your higher path, then you can start to embrace those changes, I guess, embrace them a little bit more than fear them. But
beautiful. Sarah, oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing interview. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to put Sarah's contact information in the podcast description. Please reach out to her if you'd like an amazing tarot reading or some Reiki work. If you're actually, she does it worldwide too. So any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us. And again, Sarah, I can't thank you enough for being here. It was a beautiful interview.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And for all of you out there, don't forget you are loved and you are love. Ciao.